Royal wedding dresses aren't just outfits, they're global moments frozen in time. Every stitch, every fabric choice, every detail is watched by millions, judged instantly, and remembered for decades. But behind the elegance and fairy tale imagery, there's often more going on than meets the eye. These gowns don't just reflect personal taste, they quietly reveal power, pressure, tradition, and sometimes even rebellion. Think about it. Why does one dress spark worldwide trends overnight, while another quietly divides public opinion? Why do some become timeless icons, while others are remembered for the whispers surrounding them? From Hollywood actresses stepping into royalty, to modern brides reshaping centuries-old expectations, these dresses carry stories far deeper than fashion. And as we go through these unforgettable royal looks, you'll start to notice something. Each one didn't just define a bride, it changed the perception of royalty itself. Because what happened behind these weddings, and the way the world reacted, was often just as powerful as the gowns themselves. And that brings us to the moment that quietly set the standard for everything that followed. Grace Kelly. Before royal weddings became global media spectacles, one woman turned the entire concept into a real-life fairy tale. When Grace Kelly married Prince Rainier III of Monaco in 1956, the world didn't just see a wedding. They saw Hollywood royalty merge with actual royalty. And her dress? It instantly became legendary. Designed by Helen Rose, a costume designer from MGM, the gown was anything but ordinary. It featured intricate lace, a high neckline, long sleeves, and a full skirt. Details that might seem traditional today, but at the time, it was revolutionary. It struck a perfect balance between modesty and sophistication, something royal brides still try to replicate decades later. But what made it even more powerful was what it represented. Grace wasn't born into royalty, she married into it. And her dress subtly reflected that transition. It wasn't overly flashy or designed to dominate. It was controlled, elegant, and quietly commanding. Interestingly, this gown didn't just influence royal weddings. It reshaped bridal fashion worldwide. Designers began copying its silhouette almost immediately, and to this day, you can still see echoes of it in modern wedding dresses. And while the world admired the elegance, there was also an underlying fascination with her transformation, from film star to princess. It felt like a story pulled straight out of fiction, except it was real. But as iconic as Grace Kelly's look was, it only set the stage for something far bigger, a royal wedding that would completely overwhelm the world's attention. Princess Diana. If Grace Kelly introduced the fairy tale, Princess Diana turned it into a global obsession. Her 1981 wedding to Prince Charles wasn't just an event, it was a phenomenon. Watched by over 750 million people worldwide, it became one of the most viewed moments in television history. And at the center of it all was a dress that no one could stop talking about. Designed by David and Elizabeth Emanuel, Diana's gown was dramatic in every sense. Puffy sleeves, layers of ivory silk taffeta, and most famously, a 25-foot train that filled the cathedral aisle. It was bold, theatrical, and completely unforgettable. But here's what made it even more fascinating. The dress reflected the era's idea of royalty, grand, larger than life, almost untouchable. It wasn't about simplicity, it was about spectacle. And while the world was captivated, looking back now adds a different layer to the story. The marriage itself later became widely known for its struggles, and that contrast has reshaped how people view that moment. What once felt like a perfect fairy tale now carries a sense of bittersweet nostalgia. Even so, the influence of Diana's dress is undeniable. It sparked trends across the globe, from voluminous sleeves to dramatic silhouettes. Brides everywhere wanted that same sense of grandeur. But as time passed, tastes began to shift. The world started moving away from excess towards something more refined, more controlled. And that shift would become crystal clear in the next royal wedding that captured global attention decades later. Kate Middleton. By the time Kate Middleton walked down the aisle in 2011 to marry Prince William, the world had changed, and so had expectations around royal weddings. After years of evolving fashion and shifting public attitudes, many wondered, would this wedding go big like Diana's, or take a completely different direction? The answer surprised everyone. Kate's dress, designed by Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen, was a masterclass in balance. It brought back the elegance of Grace Kelly's era, while quietly moving away from the excess seen in Diana's gown. The lace sleeves, structured bodice, and flowing skirt created a look that felt both timeless and modern. And almost instantly, it triggered a global trend. Long sleeves, which had largely disappeared from bridal fashion, made a massive comeback. Designers rushed to recreate the silhouette, and brides everywhere followed. But there was more going on beneath the surface. Kate, like Grace Kelly, was not born into royalty. Her entrance into the royal family was heavily scrutinized by the media, and her dress reflected a careful balance between tradition and relatability. It wasn't overwhelming, it was composed, polished, and strategic. Some even noted how it subtly reinforced the monarchy's image at a time when public perception mattered more than ever. And while the world praised the elegance, it also marked a turning point. Royal weddings were no longer just about spectacle, they were about messaging. But that idea of quiet power and controlled image would take on a completely different meaning in another European royal wedding. One that didn't rely on drama, yet still made a lasting impact. Queen Letizia. When Queen Letizia married King Felipe VI in 2004, the reaction was very different from the grand spectacles seen in Britain or Monaco. There was no overwhelming drama, no exaggerated silhouette, no headline-grabbing extravagance. Instead, what the world saw was something far more subtle and arguably more powerful. Her gown, designed by Manuel Perdigaz, featured a high collar, long sleeves, and intricate embroidery woven with real gold thread. At first glance, it seemed understated, but the level of craftsmanship and detail told a completely different story. And that contrast is exactly what made it stand out. Letizia wasn't a traditional royal bride. She was a journalist, a modern, independent woman stepping into one of Europe's oldest monarchies. Her dress reflected that transition perfectly. It didn't try to overshadow her identity, it complemented it. At the time, her background sparked conversations across Spain. Some questioned how a commoner and a divorcee would fit into royal life. But rather than respond with extravagance, her wedding look leaned into quiet confidence. It was controlled, intentional, almost strategic. And over time, that choice aged incredibly well. Today, her wedding dress is often praised for its timeless elegance and restraint, something that feels even more relevant in a world moving toward minimalism. But while some royal brides chose subtlety, others would soon challenge tradition in a way that sparked global debate, headlines, and endless online speculation. And that shift would take royal wedding fashion into entirely new territory. Meghan Markle. And just as royal fashion seemed to settle into this balance of tradition and restraint, everything shifted again, this time on a global scale. When Meghan Markle married Prince Harry in 2018, the attention wasn't just about the wedding, it was about what she represented. An American actress, a divorcée, a woman stepping into one of the most scrutinized royal families in the world. So naturally, the question was, would her dress follow tradition or challenge it? The answer was surprisingly bold in its simplicity. Designed by Claire Waite-Keller for Givenchy, Meghan's gown was clean, structured, and almost minimal to a degree rarely seen in royal weddings. No heavy lace, no dramatic embellishments, just sharp lines, a boat neckline, and a flowing silhouette. At first, the reaction was mixed. Some praised its modern elegance, while others expected something more elaborate. But that's exactly what made it powerful. It didn't try to impress in the traditional sense. It stood apart. And then there was the veil, embroidered with flowers representing all 53 countries of the Commonwealth. It added a layer of symbolism that many didn't notice at first glance. But beyond the design itself, the surrounding conversation added another dimension. Reports and online discussions began circulating about behind-the-scenes tensions within the royal household during the wedding preparations. While nothing was officially confirmed, the speculation only fueled public curiosity. Still, the dress became one of the most talked-about bridal looks in modern history. It marked a clear break from expectations, proof that royal fashion could evolve in real time. And yet, not every royal bride chose to stand out so boldly. Some leaned into something far more understated, but equally meaningful. Crown Princess Victoria. While Meghan's wedding sparked global headlines, another royal bride had already shown that simplicity could carry just as much emotional weight. When Crown Princess Victoria married Daniel Westling in 2010, the focus wasn't on spectacle, it was on connection. And you could feel it in every detail. Her gown, designed by Pairing Sheedon, was elegant but restrained. It featured a structured bodice, a modest neckline, and clean lines that didn't rely on dramatic elements to stand out. Compared to some of the more extravagant royal gowns, it almost felt quiet. But that was the point. This wasn't just a royal wedding. It was the story of a crown princess marrying a man who wasn't born into royalty. And in many ways, the dress reflected that grounded, personal narrative. There's also a subtle but powerful detail many people overlook. Victoria wore the same tiara her mother, Queen Sylvia, wore on her wedding day. It created a visual link between generations, a reminder that while times change, certain traditions remain. The public response was deeply emotional. Crowds gathered in massive numbers, and the atmosphere felt less like a formal royal event and more like a shared national celebration. And that's what made the look so impactful. It wasn't about commanding attention. It was about sincerity. But while some brides embraced warmth and relatability, others found themselves surrounded by a very different kind of spotlight, one filled with questions, pressure, and intense media scrutiny. Princess Charlene glamour surrounded by mystery. That contrast becomes impossible to ignore when looking at the wedding of Princess Charlene and Prince Albert II in 2011. On the surface, everything seemed perfect. The setting was glamorous, the ceremony grand, and her gown, designed by Giorgio Armani, was sleek, structured, and undeniably elegant. It featured clean lines, a strapless silhouette, and delicate detailing that gave it a modern, refined feel. But almost immediately, the conversation shifted. Photos and footage from the wedding showed Charlene appearing visibly emotional, even tearful at times. And that's when speculation began to spread. Reports and rumors surfaced online suggesting there may have been tension or uncertainty leading up to the ceremony. It's important to note that these claims were never officially confirmed, but they quickly became a major part of the narrative. Suddenly, the dress wasn't the only thing people were focusing on, and that changed how the moment was remembered. What could have been celebrated purely for its elegance became layered with unanswered questions and ongoing curiosity. Still, the gown itself remains iconic. Its simplicity and structure influenced modern bridal trends, especially for brides looking for something less traditional but still deeply sophisticated. And yet, this moment highlighted something deeper. Royal weddings aren't just about beauty. They're about perception. Because sometimes, even the most flawless appearance can't fully control the story unfolding around it. And in the next royal wedding, that balance between image and reality would take on an entirely different form. Queen Maxima. If Charlene's wedding showed how speculation can shape perception, the wedding of Queen Maxima revealed how real-world issues can follow a bride straight down the aisle. When she married King Willem-Alexander in 2002, her gown, designed by Valentino, was everything you'd expect from a royal wedding. Dramatic, elegant, and rich with detail. The lace, the long train, the veil, it all created a powerful, almost cinematic presence. But behind that beauty, there was a very real controversy. Maxima's father, Jorge Zorriguita, had served as a government official during Argentina's military dictatorship. Because of this, he was not invited to attend the wedding, a decision that sparked widespread discussion and emotional reactions at the time. And during the ceremony, that absence was impossible to ignore. In fact, one of the most memorable moments came when Maxima appeared visibly emotional as music played during the service, something many interpreted as a reflection of the complex situation surrounding her family. Yet despite all of this, her wedding look remains one of the most celebrated in modern royal history. It managed to hold its own, even amid serious public scrutiny. And that's what makes it so compelling. It shows how a royal wedding can carry both beauty and tension at the same time. But not every royal bride faced that kind of weight. Some weddings returned to a softer, more traditional fairy tale tone, offering a different kind of escape. Princess Madeleine. After moments filled with pressure, speculation, and controversy, the wedding of Princess Madeleine in 2013 felt like a return to something simpler, pure romance. Her gown, designed by Valentino, embraced everything people love about classic bridal fashion. Soft lace, a flowing silhouette, delicate detailing. It was elegant without trying to make a statement beyond beauty itself. And maybe that's exactly why it stood out. There were no major controversies overshadowing the moment. No intense speculation dominating headlines. Instead, the focus stayed exactly where it was meant to be, on the celebration. But what many don't realize is that Madeleine's journey to that wedding wasn't entirely smooth. Prior to meeting her husband, she had experienced a highly publicized breakup, which had drawn significant media attention at the time. So in a way, This wedding carried a quiet sense of redemption, and that emotion translated into the atmosphere of the day. It felt genuine, joyful, and refreshingly uncomplicated. Her dress didn't try to redefine royal fashion. It didn't challenge expectations or spark debate. Instead, it reminded people why these moments matter in the first place. Because sometimes elegance isn't about standing out, it's about feeling right. And as we look back at all these royal brides, one thing becomes clear. These dresses weren't just about fabric, design, or trends. They were reflections of something much deeper. From Grace Kelly's fairy tale transformation to Princess Diana's global spectacle, from Kate Middleton's carefully balanced elegance to Meghan Markle's modern disruption, each gown told a story far beyond the surface. Some represented tradition, others hinted at change, and a few became symbols of moments that were far more complicated than they first appeared. Because behind every royal wedding, there's always more going on than what the cameras capture. And maybe that's why people remain so fascinated, not just by the dresses, but by what they reveal. So the next time you see a royal bride step into the spotlight, ask yourself this: is it just a dress? Or is it a carefully crafted message the world is meant to see?